What's making headlines? Your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news stories in the Australian mortgage and finance broker market.
Hello and welcome to What's Making Headlines, your weekly wrap-up of all the big things happening in the mortgage and finance broking space. My name is Ben Squires. I'm the commercial content writer at The Advisor, and I'll be hosting today's show. Annie is back from leave, but she's not in the office today. She's up on the Gold Coast at the FBAA conference, so I'm sure she's having a great time there. But I'm not alone this week again, which is very thankful. I've got my colleague, The Advisor's senior journo, Will Paige. So Will, thanks for joining us on today's show. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, how's your week been?
It's been good. It's been busy. We had to send our November magazine to the printers this week, so It's always like very stressful when it gets to the pointy end of that. It's like, ugh. But yeah, really happy with how it turned out. And keen to sort of get it out on desks. How's your week been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, loads of news. Yesterday especially, loads came in.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
So it's been good. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's always good when there's lots of stuff.
Yeah,
happening.
It's good to be busy.
Yeah, until we get to the Christmas lull. But yeah, I think one of the really big ones that happened this week, and it's kind of pertinent because we've got the rate decision next week, next Tuesday, was the quarterly inflation data from the ABS. So what was the latest? What did the latest cut tell us?
Yeah, exactly. So new quarterly inflation, and the big figure that will be most relevant to brokers. So underlying annual inflation, which is the one that RBA cares about, that accelerated to 3% for the September quarter, up from 2.7% the previous quarter. So obviously right at the top edge of that RBA target band, 2 to 3%, and obviously weakening the case for a rate cut essentially. So it's also the first time that underlying inflation, annual underlying inflation, has increased since December 2022. It's a big gap there. Just drilling into the data a bit, the most significant price rises for the quarter were housing, which went up 2.5%. And property rates also went up significantly, the highest since 2014.
Electricity was also up, was that right?
Yeah. Electricity. It's partly to do with rebates, but that surged. Yeah, that was really high. But yeah, essentially the big figure, underlying inflation, 3%. And then if you look at kind of commentary around it, so RBA Governor Michelle Bullock earlier this week, she gave a speech and she said, if the trimmed mean reading goes up 0.9% on the quarter, that would be a material miss, was the term she used. It actually went up 1%, so it was way higher than everyone expected.
How about the timing? Timing of that?
She must regret that comment. And then kind of looking, I mean, so much reaction because it was, I think people were expecting it to accelerate a bit, but it's gone up way more than, I didn't see a forecast that said it would go up. No one had forecast said it would go up that much. Combank changed their cash rate forecast. So they're now saying that it's the end of the rate cutting cycle. Got a comment from head of Combank Australian Economics, Belinda Allen. She said, given the material upside surprise to the third quarter CPI and the broad-based nature of pricing pressures, we now expect the RBA to remain on hold from here. So big call there.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things that stood out in the reaction to the quarterly data, that sort of language as well. It's like, we sort of reached the end.
I didn't see anyone say, I think everyone's saying one or two more. And then obviously they've changed now. Some are saying none.
And I think Westpac revised their forecast as well.
Westpac. So they'd kind of changed their language a bit around a November rate cut, but they hadn't completely ruled a rate cut out in November. And they now have, essentially. They said, so their chief economist, Lucy Ellis, said, even a February cut is far from certain now, given the size of the upside surprise this quarter. Kind of echoing comments from Combank, I guess. Bendigo Bank also changed their forecast. They said, I mean, they're not forecasting a change in November, but they actually gave odds. I guess it's Melbourne Cup Day for the same day, annoyingly. They said 1 in 12 chance for next week. But even that, I would say, is quite
slim.
Yeah.
And in terms of the other majors, I think ANZ expects no. I think ANZ is saying nothing until February 2026.
That's right,
And NAB has penciled in a possible cut in May 2026 if
May.
economic conditions are
yeah.
weakened. But yeah, it's very sort of, I guess these forecasts are made on data that's always changing, so you have to keep that in mind. And
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when the monthly inflation came in higher than expected, everyone was like, "Oh, it's volatile. It's a monthly figure. Don't read too much into it." And I think the RBA even said, I can't quite remember the wording, but they said we're not going to leap at a single figure.
yeah,
But now the quarterly ones come in higher than expected. Everyone's like, "Oh, okay, fair. Well,
Yeah.
it's definitely a hold next week."
yeah, and they have said the quarterly metric is the one they sort of
Yeah,
lean
that's the
on
big
and
one they look
pay
at.
attention to. So yeah, I guess all eyes will be on the RBA next week when they make their rate cut decision on Tuesday. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on, and we definitely will be reporting on that. So keep an eye on your inboxes around. What time is it? It's like
About 2:30, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
so always a big day.
If you're not watching the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break right now, but when we get back, we'll be looking at a big announcement from one of the major banks. We'll be right back after this message. Welcome back. So this week, one of the big stories, I think you wrote this one, Will, it was an announcement from NAB. What did NAB have to say?
Yeah, so NAB yesterday, they essentially outlined plans to provide $60 billion in financing over the next 5 years to boost housing supply and support first-home buyers. So the $60 billion, half of that, $30 billion, will be spent specifically on the supply of commercial real estate development projects where the use is mainly residential. And then they also take into account specialist accommodation, student accommodation, community housing. But that would just be essentially on commercial real estate projects. The other $30 billion is specifically for first-home buyers via the Australian government's 5% deposit scheme, which obviously came in at the start of October. And the CEO, Andrew Irvine, wrote a letter, and he essentially said that NAB is helping to address Australia's housing crisis, and that the financing would support around 55,000 loans for first-home buyers and the development of about 50,000 new homes. So really interesting. I mean, a massive amount of money, obviously, over 6 years.
Yep.
We should say also there was a report in the AFR this week about NAB changing how it measures lending targets for some of its private bankers by increasing the focus on proprietary mortgages.
Yep.
So there's kind of a trend we've been seeing from all the big four, really, about leaning into proprietary lending and away from the broker channel. We reached out to NAB to say whether this is true, essentially. A spokesperson, so for Private Wealth, Michael Sardi, said, he's executive for Private Wealth, said, NAB takes a balanced approach to colleague scorecards, which include financial, customer and risk outcomes. We update colleagues' scorecards annually to ensure they're aligned to the bank's priorities in the coming year. So didn't really confirm or deny, I'd say.
Yeah.
But their private wealth arm, they have been focusing more on growing out proprietary lending.
Yeah, and you're right. It's kind of something we've sort of seen from the big four lenders. I think that it's probably, don't they say it's a more profitable channel?
Yeah, I think it's just more lucrative, essentially.
Yeah.
And obviously the broker channel is so big and dominant in the market now, coming up to 80% of all loans written.
Yeah.
I guess they see it as an opportunity. All the big four are kind of, we've been seeing that over the last year, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, definitely, as you said, sort of with the NAB's announcements, there's a huge amount of money earmarked for these sections. But yeah, definitely something for our listeners and readers to keep an eye on, I suppose.
100%. Particularly, I think the first home buyer thing was interesting.
Yeah.
Just if they're investing all that targeting first home buyers, they're obviously, or you'd think they're obviously expecting like a jump in demand amongst first home buyers because of the new scheme.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see what happens in the next couple of quarters and next year or two with first home buyers and how many sort of enter the market and what that does to house prices and demand and all that kind of thing. But I guess it's always interesting to see what the dynamics are doing, but particularly now I think it's going to be super interesting to observe that segment.
Yeah, and I think no one quite knows what it's going to do to the wider market and like the timing of it as well. Because say if loads of new home buyers come in, you'd think that demand goes up, price goes up for the wider market, but then there'll be a time lag. And I've heard brokers say like, well, if they get in now, they beat that time lag. So that maybe there's like a mad dash early on, and then the sort of benefits kind of gradually taper off. I'm not sure.
Yeah. This would be so interesting to see how that pans out and if they end up being priced out again.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. But we'll have to wait and see. The other big story that's worth mentioning this week came from another media report. So there was a report in the media that Pepper Money, I think it was in the AFR Street Talk column,
Yeah,
but
it was AFR.
it said they were part of a consortium that was negotiating with Westpac to acquire the Rams mortgage portfolio. So Pepper did put out an announcement on the ASX responding to this, and the non-bank lender said discussions are preliminary and incomplete with no guarantee that a transaction will proceed or be finalised. But if completed, and if it does go ahead, it would sort of mark the final stages of Westpac's exit from the Rams business after sort of divesting wealth and institutional operations to simplify its structure. As our readers will probably know, late last week, Rams was fined $20 million for systematic compliance breaches, including falsified pay slips, unlicensed referrers, and poor supervision between 2019 and 2023, after it was taken to the federal court from ASIC. But it's just super interesting to sort of see how this is all panning out. And once we sort of find out what's happening, we'll be reporting to everyone, I suppose.
Yeah, interesting to see how it pans out.
But we'll keep our listeners and readers posted what happens with Rams and if the Pepper sale comes through. We're going to take one last break right now, but when we get back, we'll be looking at a major announcement from one of the aggregators that broke yesterday on The Advisor. We'll be right back after this message. All right, welcome back. So we had a big story on The Advisor yesterday. It came from one of the aggregators. We flashed it, and it was in our bulletin this morning. What happened, Will?
Yeah, essentially, David McQueen, the CEO of brokerage brand Loan Market, has stepped down from his position as of yesterday, so that's the 30th of October. He became CEO of the broking group's branded arm Loan Market in October last year. He's been at Loan Market since 2020 as its Chief Regulation and Compliance Officer. And he also held the role of CRO and Group Exec for Strategy and Strategic Partnerships. We did reach out to him. He said in comments to The Advisor, after 6 years with the group, I'm taking the opportunity to take some time off over summer with my young boys. I'm looking forward to what the future holds and new opportunities in the new year. And then following his departure, Exec Chairman Sam White will take over the CEO role effective immediately.
Yeah.
Big news. I mean, no details around. I think he genuinely just said to us that he wanted to spend more time with his family.
Yeah.
But quite surprising.
Yeah, 100%. And whenever sort of leadership changes at one of these massive businesses, it's always a big story and always interesting to see who's going to come in and how the structure changes and that sort of thing. Yeah,
and it's a massive brand. If he's the figurehead, I mean, they're in the news constantly, aren't they, Loan Market? It'd be interesting to see if they're looking internally or externally for the new position and kind of a time frame of when they're going to get someone in by.
Yeah, 100%. So that's most of it for this week's news. Just one thing I'd like to mention to our listeners now that I've got you here. Submissions are open for the Better Business Awards 2026, the 13th Annual Better Business Awards. That'll be held early next year across all the key capitals around Australia. This is one of our biggest awards programs to sort of recognise the achievements of brokers and brokerages, and it's run in support from our principal partner, NAB, on this one. It's basically an award that provides a platform for mortgage and finance professionals to gain recognitions for their achievements over the past year. Did you go to this one this year, Will?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, so good for networking, kind of recognising the industry, and brilliant day and good chance to meet other brokers. Yeah,
so we're calling on all brokers, brokerages, innovators, aggregators, and leaders in every state and territory to submit an entry or nominate a colleague or business. You've got until Friday, 7th of November to be in the running for the prestigious awards. So got that right in the end. If you need any information, just go to the website and should be able to figure it out. Will, thank you so much for joining me to run through some of the big headlines of the week. Do you have any big plans for your weekend?
Pretty chilled. I'm helping a friend move house, which will be dull. And then, hopefully get a bit of surfing and go to the beach,
I'm hoping it's nice weather.
Yeah, you got much planned?
I actually don't.
Okay, just chilling out.
Decompressing after a busy week. But
Yeah.
it's getting to that time of year, I think, where you
yeah.
just...
The mad dash before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining me on the show, and thanks for our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed that, make sure you read all the stories, get all the details, and let us know if there's anything you're seeing or hearing that you think we should be covering here on The Advisor. You can always reach out to us directly at editor@theadvisor.com.au, and it will eventually come back to us. Otherwise, we hope you have a fantastic weekend, and make sure you catch us next week for another episode of What's Making Headlines on the Advisor Podcast Network.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.